Well, hey, ladies, how's everybody doing? So excited to be here tonight. Oh my gosh, I just couldn't be more thrilled. Um, we have our very special guest tonight who I have dreamt about having speak to you guys. Gosh, I have goosebumps for months, if not, I bet you it's been more than a year when I first thought, oh my gosh, I hope Terry could come and, talk to our team. Terry, remember we started going down this road once before. Maybe it was right before COVID, and then it all fell apart.
I think it was the summit in Texas right before
yes.
COVID. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so that was in January. So anyway, this is really a dream come true, for me to be able to do this for you guys. And I want to jump right in. I want to give her every minute that we possibly can. I'm sure that, Terry, you don't mind giving us a little introduction about yourself because you have such a great story. And welcome. We just couldn't be more thrilled. And I also want to say to you, amazing soul sisters, by lineage, but I know you're on all different teams. I am so madly in love with you, and I am so proud of you. And for you to earn this, and some of you have earned, I think this is our fourth. We had Cindy, and then we had Jenny, and actually this is our third, Terry. Some of you have been to all three. I just want to commend you for being here tonight and for carving out the time, for investing in yourself, for being here. I just think you should celebrate that. I want you to be proud of yourselves. There are many of you that aren't here live. You're going to be catching this by way of recording because you couldn't make it tonight, and there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, I like to say I really commend you for coming back and watching the video, the recording. I think that sometimes is even harder than getting on live when you make that commitment to go back. And so I want to commend you as well. And I just want to celebrate you. So, having said all that, I just want to turn this over to my friend, Terry Childers.
Hello, ladies, and congratulations to all of you again. There are so many of you on here. This is so exciting. I see some familiar names. So that is awesome. I know Kelly is so proud of you. She's just been, for the last month or so, a couple months now that we've been talking about this. She just talks all about you and how much she loves you, and she's so proud of you guys. So to earn a spot here, especially if you've earned it more than once, is huge. And so I commend you guys on your hard work and your dedication, amongst all the other things and all the other hats that you're wearing in your life. So that is awesome. You should be very proud of yourself. Okay, so I have most everything I want to say tonight. I'm going to use a PowerPoint, and so I will introduce myself, but I have some pictures. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Oh, Kelly, it says you have to let me share my screen.
Okay. You just might have to, I'm not sure that I know how to do that.
Okay.
I'm in my more. Hold on. Somebody super smart probably knows, and you can just.
I'm sure somebody does.
Tell me.
If you're on the iPad, then it's on, yep. So you click the security, you see the three dots?
Yep.
And then it'll be security.
Got it.
And then it'll show you, scroll down, that you can allow share screen, and you just click that button over.
Got it. Thank you. I did that. Can you do it now, Terry?
Okay. Yes. Hooray. Awesome.
Perfect. Thanks,
okay.
Becca.
You're welcome. Yes. You can also click her name and spotlight
it. Okay. Are you seeing a PowerPoint slide?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. You would think that the girl who teaches on Facebook parties would be good at Zoom, but I am not. I am good at Facebook parties. Zoom is still a struggle. So sometimes I'm not sure what I'm showing you guys. Okay. So you can see my screen, and I can see some of you. So that's a good place to start. Okay. So let me show you. I will introduce myself a little here. Here's my family. So just a quick little background about me. So I obviously have 4 children. And before children, I was a teacher, taught kindergarten, first grade, and loved teaching, still love teaching. That's why I'm here tonight. When we started having kids, I decided to stay home with them until they were all back in school. And back 2014, we were doing a home renovation project. And, you know, I'm staying home. My husband's a pastor. Money is very tight, 4 kids. And 3 of them were still home, like only 1 was in school at that point. So life was insane, as some of you know how that goes. And we ran out of money for our renovation project. And my options of jobs were limited because obviously I wasn't going to go back to teaching. I didn't have anyone to watch the kids. I'd been out for so long, getting a part-time job. Again, no babysitter because we have no family near us. I just didn't have a lot of options. And so a friend of mine, a dear friend, had recently joined 31. And so I ended up joining under her. And then, you know, I'm still here. So obviously it worked out pretty well, right? But I started it just for that, just to finish that little project. And I ended up loving the sisterhood. I loved the job. I loved what it was doing in my life personally and who I was kind of able to become. Although I loved all those years I stayed home with my children. Sometimes I felt like all I did was wipe butts all day. Anybody ever feel that way? So it was like something for me that I could do. And so I loved it for that reason as well. So I decided to stick with it for a while. In 2016, I promoted to director. Once I finally, you know, thought I would try to make a little business out of it. And then I remember having this chat with my husband. We had always said when our youngest one, which you can see there in the picture, she's 6. When our youngest went to kindergarten, that I would go back to teaching. Like that was just kind of the plan all along, which I love teachers and teachers are my favorite. But at that point in our life, just with the kids and no local family, I had loved the flexibility of working my 31 business from home, and the thought of going back to a job with a boss and having to be somewhere at a certain time and most likely not even being in the same school as my kids was causing me a lot of stress. And so I sat down with my husband and I said, if I can grow my 31 business to make as much money as I would make if I went back to teaching, can I just continue to do 31? And then, you know, work from home, set my own schedule, be available for the children. And he was like, sure, if you think you can do that. And I kind of took that as a challenge. And I said, absolutely, I think I can do that. And so that was my goal. And 2018, I promoted to senior director. 2019, I promoted to executive director. In the spring, and then that fall, my youngest daughter went to kindergarten and I stayed home working from this office. So it was an awesome journey of just how God provided 31 at the right time and what he's able to been able to use it in my life to accomplish and be such a blessing to my family. So I could get to continue to work from home full time. And especially this last year of all times, right? It was so good to have the flexibility. It was still insane, okay? There was too many weeks that my children were doing school at home, but I was thankful to, you know, kind of have that flexibility. So that's kind of my background personally, as well as business-wise with the company. So now, in the middle of that somewhere, I decided that I needed to grow my Facebook parties. I guess you could say, you know, perfect them or improve them, because in the middle of that, when I was, you know, at that point where I was going to show my husband that I could make this a full-time job, I realized I did not have enough nights on my calendar to go do home parties. And I was doing a lot of home parties. I was kind of doing some, you know, a lot of home and some online, kind of a mix, okay? There just wasn't enough nights on the calendar to do enough parties to make the amount of money that I needed to make to fulfill this goal. And so I thought, how can I, you know, work more without leaving my family every night of the week? Because that was definitely not what we wanted. And that's when I started exploring Facebook parties, you know, researching them, talking to people about them, you know, just observing and trying new things and just a lot of trial and error. And it just became my passion, like the thing I was going to make these things be successful so that I could, again, kind of reclaim my evenings with my family. And so that's just kind of how Facebook partying became a passion of mine. And then I just enjoyed it and have been able to, you know, teach others how to do it as well. So I know a lot of you maybe have a similar situation, or maybe like Kelly, this past year, you decided to explore Facebook partying because there wasn't much of a choice in 2020 with, you know, not being able to gather together like we usually do for home parties. So whatever the reason is that you are exploring Facebook parties, this is where we're at tonight, right? We're ready to kind of dive in and see how we can make them a little more effective. So Facebook parties can be a huge part of your business if you use them effectively. So that's what we're going to talk about. You hopefully, if you wanted, hopefully you got the little handout. I had posted it on the group. If you did not, or if you don't have a printer, or if you're not a handout girl, that's all good, fine too. Just, you know, put notes down on paper, whatever works for you. And then you can always fill that in later if you want to. And I pretty much left it blank so that you guys can just fill in however you like to take notes. Okay, so I do have a question, and now the challenge will be, I'll see if I can try to be able to see more of you. There we go. Like I said, I'm not super great at my Zoom skills here, but I just want you to kind of raise your hand, and I want to kind of get a feel for you. And you guys did a little bit of this on that poll, but how many of you would say, okay, you have never done a Facebook party? Any hands? I think there was only one on that poll. Okay, how many of you would say about half of your parties are Facebook parties? And you could, let's even say before COVID maybe. How many of you were about half home party, half Facebook party before COVID? You were still doing a lot of home parties. Okay, so some of you were doing, yeah, like half and half. Okay, and then I'm sure over this last year that's probably switched a little bit. Hopefully you're gonna be able to get to do some home parties again, but just depends, you know, where you're at and what your comfort level is. All right, and then how many of you would say you're doing almost all, if not all of your parties are on Facebook? Okay, yes, I see lots of hands for that. Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna move you guys back over there. Okay, so that's why we're here, right? Because even if that's not your favorite, even if you prefer home parties, maybe you're not able to do as many of those now, and you definitely haven't been. So we wanna really be able to help you guys be more effective and feel more confident when you're doing these parties. Okay, so we know that there can be some positives and some negatives to online partying, okay? I want, and this is where you guys can unmute yourself and just kind of yell out an answer here if you have one. But I want you to kind of help me brainstorm some positives and some negatives of Facebook partying. So what would be something that is positive about doing your partying online? And just feel free to unmute, say something, we'll go on, you know, everybody can take a turn.
Convenient pajamas.
Okay, I heard convenient. What was the other one?
Pajamas.
You can do it in your pajamas, and so can all the guests. Perfect. You could actually have a pajama theme, and then everybody will think you're supposed to be wearing them. Okay, what else?
You can do several at a time, several hostesses at one time.
I love that. So you're really making good use of your time because you can do multiple people in one night. Love it. What else?
Pre-posting.
Yes, so you can schedule those posts ahead of time when you have the time in your schedule, so you can actually work it around your schedule even better. Yes, I love that.
And for busy families, or if you have kids?
Yes, okay, because there's, again, that schedule. You can fit it when it fits. You have a lot more flexibility when you don't have to be somewhere at a certain time, other than maybe in front of your computer at some point. All right, anything else? All right, let me show you a few that I came up with. Those were all great. You guys touched on some of the ones I have on here. This one I don't think we touched on, but one of them, which I love, this was huge in my business, is that it allows you to broaden your customer base. So you're not limited to only partying with people in your city, you know, that are, you know, within driving distance. You can branch out, meet new customers. If you have family or friends around the country, you know, they can party with you, and then you can meet their circles and you can expand that way. So I've been able to do that. You know, I would say 85% of my customer base does not live in my town. So I've been able to kind of grow it there by doing it that way. The hostess does less work. Now, if your host is coaching well, she should still be doing work, and we'll talk about that later. But she doesn't have to clean her house and cook any food. So that's the kind of work I'm talking about. Hostess is like that. You don't have to leave your home and get any childcare. Neither does really anybody else taking in part of the party. Everyone can attend because they don't have to go anywhere, like you were saying, Stephanie, about the busy schedules. And you can schedule them anytime. So whether you like to have them during the day throughout the week, or you like to have them at night after the kids are in bed, or whatever works for your schedule. So it doesn't have to be 6:30 on Thursday night at so-and-so's house for 4 hours. Not that I don't love those. Those are super fun. I just did a home party for the first time in a long time a couple weeks ago, and it was a blast, but I can't do my whole business that way. So this is fantastic. All right, so what are some negatives? What are some negatives?
Can't touch and feel the items.
Yes, the customers not being able to touch the product.
Personal relationships, like face-to-face.
Yes, so you're not having that face-to-face with the guests, so it's harder to build those relationships because you're not seeing each other.
I can't hug anyone.
Yes, not really. It is kind of hard. What else?
Doesn't always work.
What was that?
Facebook doesn't always work.
Yeah, yes, technology can, yes, Facebook likes to make our lives difficult sometimes, changes things, doesn't post our posts, won't let us go live, all kinds of fun techie challenges. Agree. I've had all of that happen to me.
Sorry. Off of that, not everybody has Facebook, or not everybody has internet or access to the internet.
Okay, so more technology challenges. It might not be able to reach all of the people. Good.
And I would say, I don't know, people are saturated with, like, everyone's businesses move to online. And I just feel like, I mean, there are times where I felt like I was getting invited to a million parties of all kinds of different things. And at some point you're just like, they just all blur. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel as special to be invited because that's what everyone's doing now.
Right. Yes. And I totally see that. Like I was also feel like I was invited to a lot of those this last year because, like you said, most direct sales had to go onto Facebook or some type of online platform. And yeah, it is a little more saturated, definitely more than it was before last year. Anything else? All right, let me show you some of mine. This one we said, it can be very impersonal. Okay, it's hard to make those connections, those relationships when you're not face-to-face. People don't RSVP or get involved. So, you invite all these people to the party. How do you get them to actually come or even participate, let alone place an order? They cannot see and touch the products. We said that. It's harder to get bookings because you're not asking them face-to-face. How do you get them to continue on as your customer if you haven't even made a personal connection? You're just another person on Facebook. And then, because of all those things, you feel that maybe your party average is lower. I hear that all the time. Well, when I do home parties, I have $600,000 parties. When I do these Facebook parties, you're only $200. And that's not really, doesn't seem to be worth my time. And so we'll talk about ways to, if you're going to spend that time, I want you guys to make a paycheck. This is your job. And so we want to kind of find a way to overcome these negatives so that you're not having those lower sales. All right, so my number one tip, if you can't remember anything else I tell you tonight, especially if you have a home party background, this will resonate with you. I want you to remember that to really be successful in Facebook partying, and when you go into it, again, if you have a home party background, if you don't, this won't maybe resonate with you, but make your Facebook party as much like a home party as possible. So if you have done home partying, if that's all you've ever done, if that's what you started with, or even if you're a 50-50, half and half prior to 2020, think about what works in home parties and figure out how you can transfer that to a Facebook party. And that is what, when I started doing a lot of Facebook parties, they were not very effective. The sales were very low. And I was like, something isn't working here. I'm spending all this time and I'm making way less money than if I do a home party, but in my schedule, I don't have the ability. So I just had to find a way to make them a better use of my time. And so I just kept trying to implement different things that I knew worked in the home party into the Facebook party. And that is kind of where a lot of my tips that I'm going to share tonight came from. All right, so that's your number one thing. If you remember that, you get an A+. Okay, so, but to kind of expand a little bit, I'm going to give you 4 keys for a good Facebook party, 4 different areas that we're going to look at. First, we'll talk about the well-balanced script, because the script is important. It's not everything, but what you say and what you do in the party can help how the party goes. Hostess coaching, obviously, or insider coaching is the word of the day, but I guess I've been around too long, I still say hostess coaching. But we got to coach her. She is our number one helper in this thing. If we don't have a good hostess, it's a lot harder. So getting her and helping her to do the right things is going to help us be successful. Number 3, encouraging engagement, which, we talked about how the parties can be not personal. We're going to talk about how to make them personal. And then number 4, this is kind of after the party, But this is the personal follow-up that makes the party more worth your time, because it makes your business go forward, not just end when the party ends. Because if you have a party and then it's over and that's the end of it, well, sure, you got some PV, but that's all you got. It wasn't really, not really worth your time. We want that party to give you future business. All right, so first, the script. All right, so there are lots of different ways. And I just want you guys to know that everything I share with you tonight, this is what works for me. Every single thing I say that I do, you don't have to do it exactly my way. I'll give you some different options. But the biggest thing is take some things that I share with you, try them, and then find what works best for you, because everybody's personality is different. Everybody's schedule is different. Okay, so you got to find what works for you. All right, but first, there's the style. Whether you want to do it live in 1 hour, you know, have some pre-post ahead of time, but then like the party actually takes place in a 1 hour event, or on a group for 1 hour, or do you like to have the whole thing spread out over a week, 3, 4, 5 posts a day for a week? You know, there's that option as well. Again, that is totally up to you. Whatever works better for your schedule. I prefer the live hour. I like to get it done. I do mega parties, so I do have multiple hostesses at a time. It's wild, it's crazy, it's insane. I'm exhausted by the end of it, but I love it. And then I'm done. So that is how I like to do them. But some people like to spread them out. So you have to just find what works for you. As long as you do some live videos somewhere in that week, the week-long one can work as well. All right, be sensitive of time just so that you don't overwhelm your guests. And that works for either one. If you're doing a live hour, I really do stick to my hour when I do my parties. I try to never go beyond an hour, because people want to head to bed, or people want to, whatever else they have going on in their evening. And then if I was doing a week-long one, same thing. I would keep it within, that 5 to 7 days. Don't go any longer. Those parties that drag on for 2 weeks, nobody wants to be part of those. Okay, so be sensitive of people's time. You love 31, you want to talk about it every day, but they don't. All right, make sure that it is balanced. You want your party to be fun and informative. So you don't want every one of your posts to just be a guessing game and all kinds of fun, stuff, and never actually talk about the products or the opportunities that we have to offer. But if you don't do anything fun and all you do is, talk about products the whole time, maybe it's not quite as fun. So you got to find a balance of both. Choosing a script is important. There is a lot of things that kind of go into making them more effective or another. There's nothing magical about a script. If you've ever used the script that I write and that I share, if all you do is throw it out there, it doesn't magically work. There's a lot, and everything else we're going to talk about tonight goes into making it work. But you do want to start with a good one. So whether you want to write your own, or you want to get the one on TOT is great. I did have a lot of input into that when they were first creating it. So I know for sure that it is fantastic. So they have that one there. And then of course I have one I share, and I know there's a lot of other ladies, maybe even some of the leaders on this team, write them and share them. So it doesn't matter necessarily, which one it is. Just find one that is good and balanced and kind of meets all of these criteria. But then you gotta make it yours. If you just take my script or so-and-so script or the TOT script, and you just copy and paste the whole thing, people are going to know. It's just not going to be you. We don't all use the same same words, the same phrases. You want that thing to represent you. So go through it once you find one you like, and change some wording here and there, add some of your own photos, add things about your family, make it yours. Okay, so it's fine to use somebody else's, but you want to make it yours. When I was teaching, I would, as a teacher, we would be given a curriculum, right? Here's the curriculum I'm supposed to teach. Here's the teacher manual. I did not stand up in the front and word for word just read exactly what it said. I read it and said, okay, here's what I'm supposed to teach today. Now, in my personality and in my, different flair that I have, I will now teach that to my students. So it's the same thing with a script. You want it to be yours. All right, so this is just, I know you probably can't read it. It's really small. I don't intend for you to read it. I'm just showing you this. This is just an example when I say a script. This is the one that I have put out there. You'll see the different things that go into it are going to be, hostess coaching, things like that. So this is just kind of a visual of, what one might look like. Some people like to have them all typed out in a document. Some like to have them in a group. Some like to, use SynShare. There's all different ways to share a script or to get one. But this is just kind of what the document that I go from looks like. And then if you've ever used mine, and of course you're welcome to, And after we're done tonight, I will post links to all of these things in our group there so that you guys have links to everything. But if you're not familiar, I do a group. It's kind of like an example. It's like an example of what my party would look like if I was doing it. And it's open to anybody in the company who wants to join. And then it kind of has all the tips and tricks and explanation, as well as all of the posts. And then again, you would, copy those, save those, and make those yours. So that's just so you kind of see what it looks like. I said I will post the link to it. But again, if you want to use the one on TOT, if you know another director who makes, or you don't even have to be a director. If you love to write them, some people are weird like me. They like to write scripts. It's like a fun hobby. So there's lots of them out there, but that's just the one that I've created. All right, and then my last thing there is to find something, and somebody mentioned this in the positives, is that you can schedule your posts. And I highly recommend that because it can really just take up a lot of your time if you don't, and it's not the best use of your time. So either learn how to use CinchShare. If you don't have that, it's a great program. It's very affordable. It's like $10 a month. If you're doing more than one party a month, I would say it's worth the money. But the other option is Facebook has a built-in scheduler, which I'm sure most of you guys know that, have used that in your VIP group and other things. Definitely schedule. If you have been manually posting all of your posts, you probably feel exhausted at the end of a party. So this way you can get it all set up whenever you have time. Say you're like, on Monday, I have 2 hours. I'm going to get everything scheduled for my party on Wednesday or whatever. Again, whatever works in your schedule. And then it's done. And then you just interact as they're going and you're able to chat with the guests. And it's just, again, makes it more personal. So it will save your sanity. So choose one of those two things. And I think there might be a couple other options out there. Those are just the ones that I have used. All right. Next, so you have a script, right? You have found one. You have made it yours. You've made it to fit you. You've got it ready to go. But like I said, a script all by itself is not going to, it's not going to magically just result in sales and bookings. We have to do a little bit more than that. All right, so next we need to coach our hostess. We have to assume that she doesn't know what to do. Even if she has hosted with you before, I want you to just do it like she's the first time. Now, a lot of times if I have someone who's hosted with me before, I might say to her, now you might remember from last time, but I still give her every single step of all the directions, everything I want her to do, because if you assume that she knows, she probably doesn't. Also, I made the mistake once of assuming that someone who works in another direct sales company would be an amazing hostess and she would know everything to do and it would be the best party ever. And it was not. And so once I realized it wasn't going well, I started coaching her like I do everyone else, and come to find out she wasn't doing so great in her direct sales business. And everything she learned by being a hostess with me, she was like, this was great. I'm going to start doing this in my business. So, so never assume that someone knows what to do. It's your job. And I tell them this, it's my job to tell you what to do. And sometimes they do things before I even think to tell them. And I tell them that they're amazing and they probably should join my team at that point. All right, so here's some things. It's kind of my little process, and this is just an overview of it. Like I said, my very detailed process is in that document I showed you earlier that I will share with you guys. And again, the one on TOT is very similar to mine. Theirs just looks prettier because they have like a graphics girl who makes it look all nice. So I'm going to send a hostess packet, of course, even online parties. Some people ask me, do you still send that? And I do. I feel they need to have an actual catalog in their hands. They need to have some, other things in their hands. Paper is still a thing, even in our digital world. I think that it's powerful. So still send that hostess packet. Set goals with her. This is huge. If you just say, well, we're going to have a party, and she might think that a $200 party is amazing. And in your mind, a $200 party is not what you were shooting for. You wanted a $500 party or a $1,000 party for your paycheck and for her to get more rewards, because we know, at the $500 level, those rewards are doubling. We want her to get to that. But she doesn't know that. She doesn't know our hostess rewards program. So you got to tell her. And so I always help her have a goal from the very beginning. Here's how much sales we want. Here's how many bookings we want. I'm going to reward you for these things. And we kind of go through all of that. So set those goals because she doesn't know what she's shooting for. But as soon as she does know what she's shooting for, she's going to work a lot harder because she's got a goal. And you guys know that when you have a goal in your business, like for this, you wanted to sell $500 in March so that you could be at this meeting. if Kelly just said, well, go have a great March and sell some stuff, and then I'll let you know at the end of March if you made it into the group. You know, you would have no idea what you were shooting for. But if she said 500 and you got to March 31st and you were at like 490, I bet you'd find a reason to buy a wristlet strap real quick, right? Okay, because you had a goal, you had something you were shooting for. And it's the same thing with our hostesses. So always set those goals with her. Okay, next, help her to invite. Again, I'm not going to go through all the details on how I do that. I have all that in my hostess coaching. But the biggest thing is that you want her to invite people personally. Because I couldn't see everybody, I don't know who said it earlier, but whoever said, with this last year, everybody moving to online, you got invited to like 1 million parties, right? You get little notifications all the time that you've been invited to another Facebook party. I don't know what you guys do, but I ignore most of those. And I do this for a living, and I still ignore most of them. I only attend a party if the hostess actually messages me and says, hey, Terry, I'm having a such and such party next Wednesday. I'd love for you to come. Oh, you would? Okay, then I will come because you asked me. But if you just send me like a little notification or you just post it on your page, and not that those things are bad, but that is not going to get me to come to your party. And that works with most people. So when I have her invite people, we don't just, invite people to the group and post it on Facebook. We do those things, but not only. Those are just kind of like the extra. We send a personal message to every single person to invite them. And that is where from the very beginning, we are trying to make this personal. Again, we're trying to make it as much like a home party as possible, right? You're sending them a hostess packet, you're setting goals, and now you're inviting people. When you're inviting people to your house for a home party, you don't just post it on Facebook and say, hey, I'm having a party next Thursday, hope you guys can come. And then just sit around in your living room and hope some people show up. How would you know how much food to make? How would you know how many chairs to set up? Of course you would, make those personal contacts. So you're going to do the same with the Facebook party, even though you're not cooking or cleaning anything. It's really important, and we'll get a lot more people to show up. All right, and then you're going to get her involved in the actual party. Now, I gauge this on the individual hostess. Some of them are, you have your hostess who is the overwhelmed hostess. She's got too many hats. She barely said yes to this party. I don't want to overwhelm her, so I don't ask her to do 1 million extra things. Then you have the other one who struggles with technology and can't quite figure out how to do everything, and it just frustrates her. I don't ask her to do too many extra things. But then you have that other one who is the one that you usually end up telling, hey, you should probably join my team because you did most of the work for me. That girl, I may have her to do some more things, post more pictures of her favorite products, things like that. So I kind of gauge it on my hostess, what she's comfortable with and what I kind of see in her. But that's a great way for you to find those potential team members in the throughout the process as well. But I do at least have her comment, participate in the party. I tell her that that's important. Again, bringing it back to the home party, if she had all her friends sitting around in her living room and they were all chatting about something, she would not just sit there and ignore them, okay? Or if they all pulled out pictures of their family and started showing, hey, look at a new picture of my family on my phone, she wouldn't just give them a thumbs up, right? She would say, oh my word, Kelly, that beautiful picture that you posted of your family on post number 1. Oh my word, you guys are so cute, something like that. Or where'd you go on your vacation? Or, when somebody says they need a bag for their daughter's dance class, you should say, oh, your daughter's taking dance now? My daughter is too. Okay, so I encourage her to find ways to get involved with her guests, commenting on their comments, just as she would if they were all sitting around the living room. But that is something you have to explain to them. They don't realize that that's important. They don't know. They just think, oh, well, this whole thing's just going to happen. So you just got to teach her. Most of them are like, oh, sure, I can do that. Almost always. They're totally fine with doing it. You just have to tell them. And then, help her to remind people. I feel that when you're prepping for a Facebook party, it kind of like revs up, and the closer and closer you get to it, you have to rev it up even more. What I mean by that is you might invite someone a week ahead of time. You might check in with them midweek and make sure they're coming. But then the day of the party, I want her to send a reminder, a text or a Facebook message to everyone. We're going to tag them. We are going to remind them again 10 minutes before the party. And she's going to get to the point where she's like, why are we reminding people so much? They're not going to forget. Yes, they are. have any of you done a Facebook party? They're going to forget. And they're not going to forget because they're bad friends or they don't care or they didn't want to be there. They're going to forget because it's not on their calendar, probably. They don't have to go anywhere. They didn't get up this morning and think through their evening schedule of how they have to get to the Facebook party at 8:30 tonight. Okay, because in their mind, oh, there's that thing on my phone that I'm going to hop onto on the couch later tonight. Okay, whatever. You know what I mean? So it is important to her. She wants to attend, but if her hostess does not remind her, she might forget. Her husband might put on something on the TV and she just gets distracted with that. Or she may go into the kitchen to clean up the messy kitchen because they had soccer practice and she loses track of time. Or the kids are having trouble going to bed or whatever. All the things, all the things that happen in the evening when we have these great plans of all we're going to accomplish before bed. They usually end up winning out on the Facebook party. Unless she looks at her phone while she's doing those dishes and sees her reminder from her friend that says, don't forget my party starts in 5 minutes. Oh, these dishes can wait. I told my friend I'd be at her party, right? And so those reminders, though they may seem overdone or annoying, maybe, I've even had hostesses say, I don't want to annoy my friends. I said, I promise you, you're not annoying them. They will be glad you reminded them. And all the time I hear people say, thank you for reminding me, I almost forgot. I think actually somebody on the group, Kelly, somebody posted today on one of the reminders that said, thanks for the reminder, I almost forgot. So see, even we do this as for a job and we forget to show up to things. So it's not because it wasn't important to you. It's just, it's a different kind of thing on your schedule. It's harder to remember because you don't have to get in the car and go anywhere. So really remind like a crazy person. It's worth it. All right. Before I go on to encourage engagement, any like super huge questions? We are going to have question and answer at the end. Okay. But if there's something that you're like super stuck on right now and you don't think you can go on without me answering it, let me know. Also, I'll give you a second if there's anything like that. Anybody? Okay. I can't see all of you. So if your eyes are like, you know, I don't even know. If anybody has fallen over from exhaustion, Kelly, just let me know. Okay. All right. Next, encourage engagement. This is where you're going to continue to build those relationships. So these are just some different tips. And again, if you do use my script, I have this literally typed out when to do it, when to say it, what you should do, what the hostess should do. It's all in there. But you want to, even as the consultant, you want to comment on people's comments as well. This isn't just for the hostess to do. You need to do it if you want to build the relationship and tag people to draw them in. I do use party points. Now people can get really hung up on party points. How can you count them all? What kind of form do you use? Do you use a spreadsheet? Guys, I'll just be real honest. I don't even count them. Okay. And I don't know, judge me if you want. I do not count them. Okay. I do have a little tracker and I'll share this on the group as well. I do have a little tracking sheet. So I do keep track of certain things, you know, if they've ordered, if they have filled out my survey, some really important things that I want to know for follow-up. But every single time they like or comment, I don't keep track. I don't got time for that. But trust me, by the time the party happens, I know who my top 5 participants are in the party because I've been seeing their name in my notifications all week. They've commented on every post. I know who the ladies who deserve to win the prizes are. And they're going to win. I'm going to rig it so that they do. I just don't stress about the party points. When they are, it is true. You're not lying to them when you say the more you participate, your better chance of winning because you will win if you participate. Okay, so I like to put that disclaimer in because some people get very stressed about the party points. Okay, send personal messages. Now, like I said, that's something that the hostess does, but this is also something that I have started doing in the last year or two. And I've seen a huge growth in my relationship with my customers, as well as with future hostesses. I have a couple of different things in my script where I ask them to message me, because you guys know how Facebook works, right? When someone's not your friend and they try to message you, you don't see it because it goes into like the abyss folder somewhere. And if people don't know how to check the abyss folder, they never find those messages. So it helps if they message you first because you're looking for their message, right? So I have a couple of different things built into my script, message me this or that for extra points or different things like that. And if they do that, then they've opened up that conversation, that door in Messenger. And I'm sure Kelly has taught you guys, she shared a little bit about this with my team last night. So I know you guys have probably talked about this, but you know, how the mechanics of that work, but it's really important. If you can get her to message you first, you'll have that relationship and that conversation can begin. So definitely build a couple of those things into your script. They will really help down the road and throughout the whole party and in your follow-up at the end. Of course, in your party, whether you do it for like the week long, like we talked about, or whether you do it all in 1 hour, you go live. Okay. Now I know there's like 2 of you out there and you're saying, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to go live. I don't like going live. It makes me feel awkward and uncomfortable. I don't have enough products. My hair is just a mess. I'm a hot mess. My kids are loud. I don't want to hear it. Nope. No excuses. Okay. Everybody needs to do this. Now, if you absolutely cannot do it live, then at least record some videos, because you want them to hear your voice. You want them to see you. You want those guests to get to the end of the party and be like, I know that lady. She is my 31 consultant. I know her. Okay. I can't tell you how many like really good customers of mine or really good hostesses that I have never in my life met in person, but they feel like we know each other. Like we are friends. They know all about me. They like stalk me on Facebook. They know about all my kids, you know. I mean, even here, some of you guys, you've never met me, but you know me. Why? Because you've seen me do a video on Pink Bubble or, you know, different things like that. When people see you in a video, they feel an instant connection with you because they hear your voice, they see your mannerisms, and they like you because they've seen you. You're not just someone posting stuff on Facebook. All right. And then above and beyond that, you're going to show the products. While it's not as good as getting to touch and feel them, they get to see them. They get to see the size, the shape. I don't know how many times people have said to me, oh, I wasn't even going to buy that bag until you showed it in the video, or I didn't realize that bag was that size, or, you know, those different kinds of things. So you want to do it for your personal connection, also for the products. So like I said, if for some reason you absolutely can't go live at all, not 1 single second in that whole week, then pre-record a video at least. That's better than nothing. And if you are scared to death, just trust me, it will get easier. Okay, do it. If I said to you, would you do it for $100? You would probably say yes. Well, let me just challenge you to do it and see your paycheck grow, because the live videos were a game changer in my parties. My PV, my average party sales went through the roof when I started doing the live videos. So you will get that $100. So just do it. And the more you do it, it gets easier. All right. Sorry, I got to check my notes here, make sure I didn't lose anything, because I'm just going through my PowerPoint and sometimes I don't have it all in there. Okay. Last, personal follow-up. Now this is something that I have never had this in this presentation before. I have taught on Facebook partying many times to many groups, and I've never had this. And I added it tonight because I finally feel like I am qualified to talk about it, because it has been my goal the last several months in my personal business to really focus on this and actually learn a system or a way to do this well. I would say a year ago, I wouldn't have been able to say I do this part well. And so I finally feel like I have it. I've learned from several others in the company and from, you know, Julie and those at home office who've been doing some amazing trainings lately. And I finally have a great follow-up system, and it has made a huge difference. I'm not just kind of throwing darts at the wall like I was before. All right, so first of all, we want to build these relationships to go to future business, right? We want future customers from this party. We want them to buy from us again. We want future hostesses. We want people to book parties. And then we want somebody or somebodies to join our team, whether from this party or as they continue on with us in the future and build that relationship. So how do we get it to go forward and not end the night of the party? All right, so you're going to be planting seeds. I'm sure you've heard that before. Again, that's another part of a good script, is that you have seeds throughout the party. But the part of that goes with follow-up is that's you paying attention. So when you throw out one of those seeds, maybe a booking seed, like you could get all of this for free if you had a party, or I am working from home because I do 31, whatever it is that you share in your story or in your party that shares about, you know, the business opportunity or the hosting opportunity. Those are seeds. But what you want to watch for is the response you get. So if somebody comments like, oh, I love that bag, I wish I could afford it, but it's not in the budget. Well, sounds like she needs to either have a party or join your team. Okay. You know, so you're watching for those kind of comments. And again, I use a little tracking sheet. So that's the kind of thing I do keep track of. I don't count all the party points, but I keep track of the lady who can't afford the bag and the lady who, you know, wishes she had time for this, that, and the other thing. So I keep track of those things so that I can use those as conversation starters with her. All right, I do use a Google survey. I'm not going to go into all that tonight. There is a great Google survey training video that I helped Heidi Tharp make last year. It's on TOT. It's fantastic. I can post a link to that if you don't know where that is. But just watch that video and do a Google survey if you don't do one already. It is amazing what people will say yes to when they're in a survey that they may never verbalize in a Facebook party because they're quiet or they just whatever, for whatever reason, they will say yes to partying or yes, they're interested in the business when the survey asks them. It's a very interesting phenomenon. So try it. I get a lot of future business from that. Okay, this is the new thing. This is my favorite. And this has been a game changer even in the last 3 months for me and my team. Full service checkout. If you guys have done home parties, here we go, another home party to Facebook party connection here. If you were a home party girl, you know that we're supposed to do a full service checkout. If you are not a home party girl, now you know. And so what you were supposed to do is when you were helping the lady with her, you know, at checkout, getting her total, you would ask her if she would want to host a party with you, if she was interested in learning more about the business. You weren't just helping her total her order. You were doing those things as well. But how does that transfer over into a Facebook party, right? That's hard. You're not sitting across the table with her to ask her those questions, and to text those questions feels weird and icky, right? And that is exactly how I always felt until I learned this new concept, the 4 questions. It's just a more casual way of having a conversation with someone and continuing that full service checkout. This is just a quick screenshot of my version of the 4 questions. There is a lot of different ways to do this. A lot of people, it's kind of been a buzz topic on the Pink Bubble and some of the other leader groups and things like that. They've shared about it, I believe, in the Seize the Day training. If you guys watched that last month, they shared about it. So this is not something I came up with, but it's something I've implemented and my team has been using and we've loved it. But basically, and again, I won't read all of this. I'll post it all for you guys later for the sake of time. But it's basically just a little follow-up script. It gives you the words to say and again, make them sound like you, but they're not going to be icky. You're just going to make it fun and you're going to give a prize if they answer the questions. And it's amazing the answers you will get. Now, some people will choose not to answer at all. That's totally fine. Some people will still never see your message because you couldn't get them to connect with you. That's okay too. Some of them will say no to everything. Well, hopefully not the part about having fun at the party, but they might say no to everything else. That's okay. Just continue to, you know, build that relationship. They may continue on as a future customer. And then you may get, or you probably will get some yeses from some people. It is amazing the people that have said yes, that they, you know, when I had this dialogue kind of going back and forth with them, that they were interested in a party or interested in more about the business. And I would have never gathered that from them. I didn't see anything about that on their survey. They didn't maybe mention it at all during the party, but all of a sudden they're talking with me and they're like, well, you know, I have thought about doing some kind of business from home, but I don't know. I don't really know if I would be good at it. I don't have a lot of friends. And, you know, as Kelly shared with my team last night, you know, if she shared with you about her wonderful training on sponsoring, which I'm sure she has, you can turn that around and be able to use that conversation to help her see that she could do this, and you are here to help her and support her. And you just need to help her get over some of those fears. So anyway, it's a great follow-up, but it's also a good conversation starter. And I've seen a ton of business and my team members, even my new consultants, are using it and their party calendars are full. It's amazing. And we've had more people join our team in the last 3 months than in all of 2020. It's insane. So I'm telling you, follow-up is the key. All right, and so what is the 4 questions? The follow-up is going to give you those future customers, future hostesses, and team members. And this is one of my favorite quotes. I always throw it in at the end. If you want to stay in business, you should never close a party without a party to replace it. And if you've been around for a while, you would know Amy Neal. She used to be with 31. She was an amazing trainer. I learned so much from her. And this was the best advice she ever gave me. So when you get to the end of your Facebook party, never close that party until you have a party to replace it. So if that means doing some more personal reach outs, or, you know, asking your hostess if she has anyone she could recommend, I make it my goal to not close that party until I get at least one party booked from it. So that's just a great advice that was given to me that I like to share. All right, that is all for my formal presentation, but I know the chat is like blowing up, but I'm sorry, I can't read the chat when I talk, or I start talking the chat. So I'm gonna unscreen share myself here, if I can figure that out. There we go. That way now I can see you guys again. So, all right. So Kelly, what's probably the best way? Should we just have them raise their hand so they don't all talk at once if they have a question?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, whatever. And Terry, oh my gosh, thank you. My hand is sore and I took over 2 pages of notes. And so I'm just thanking you right now for all that. And yes, so here's the thing, you guys, it's 8:52. We have 8 legal minutes for you to be able to ask questions. Keep in mind, Terry is going to go back into our very special, I hope you know how special you are. Terry is going to go back into our special group, and she is going to post a few follow-up pieces. But if you have some questions, yep, ask away.
All right, Kimberly, she has a hand, I think.
I have no idea why my hand is up. I think that was a very, very long time ago. I don't know. I'd blame it on my kid, but he's sleeping. Sorry.
Okay. That's okay, not a problem. Okay, how about Debbie?
Hi, I am on Jen German's team. Yay! So I'm new. I'm still fairly new. I joined mid-October. I don't get a whole lot of parties. I would love to be able to say I close a party with a party, but I don't. But knock on some fake wood, this month and hopefully next month I have some. But I was going to make a comment about the going live. I go live a lot. And I even have my 6-year-old son who is totally like into 31. He gets the new catalog came out. He had those little legal flags and he's picking out stuff that he wants. I jokingly call him my business partner. So that helps too. Everybody loves kids. But for those that are nervous about going live, one of the things that I started to do was you can definitely pre-record. And one of the things I pre-recorded that I got a lot of response from was this is me and my why. And then I still posted it like everybody else does, with pictures and stuff. But it's a nice little way to do that. And if you really don't want to be on camera, but you want to try the live thing, you could show the products without actually having your face. It's just, turn the camera and show the stuff. Maybe have one of your kids be Vanna White or Mr. White, so to speak, to show the product. So it's your voice and your personality coming through without you physically having to be the one on camera. So just a couple little things that I've picked up and so yeah, and like I said, pre-record, because if you pre-record them, especially like this is me and my why, you can just automatically post that just like you do with the Facebook posts. Schedule those and you're not actually going live. I've had people say, how are you posting in the middle of the day? Aren't you supposed to be working your real job? And I'm like, yeah, they're all pre-scheduled. So, but just a couple ideas that I've had that hopefully will help people that are nervous. I thought it was wonderful.
Awesome. I love those ideas. I especially love the one about pre-recording your why and posting that ahead of time. That's great, because then you can kind of get that one done and just have it scheduled ahead of time. So all of those ideas I love, and getting the kids involved. Exactly. Oh my goodness. Remember I was saying earlier, like I have all these customers who feel like they know my kids, they know their names. Well, my kids are in the videos all the time. These people have never met us, but they get that connection. They ask, how are your kids? Oh, I'm like, you don't even know my kids, but it's from the videos. So yes, that's huge. Get your kids in there, then you won't feel as nervous.
Yeah, my first live one was when I got my consultant kit, and I sat down and my kids were right there, and I opened my kit and I was like, oh, look what I got, check this out. you know, and my enthusiasm, I think, really kind of started it all. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who else has a question for Terry?
Terry, I don't have a question for you, but since no one's saying anything, I want to say a ginormous thank you. Of course, I haven't been able to see you since the summit a couple of years ago when we were all together, but I personally have to say a ginormous thank you. I was not a giant fan of Facebook parties. I was a home party gal. I did some here and there, but didn't really like know what I was doing, feel comfortable, yada, yada, yada. And then of course, COVID hit last year, and I also lost my full-time job with COVID. So I kind of went, oh no, real quick, because I was like, this is going to go one of two ways. And I don't even remember how I came on your script, but I was like, okay. And I still remember I printed it all out. It was like 13 pages. And I was like, oh, this is a lot. And it was overwhelming. But like, I read through it and I digested it. And I was like, okay, like I had to read it a few times and it started to click and make sense. And then I like did it verbatim because I was like, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to do this because she's amazing and it's working for her. And then, like you said, I did it because I didn't know what to do. And then I started to figure out for me, like things that were working really well, things that I was like, this isn't really clicking with people. I'm going to change this a little bit. And I tweaked it and made it my own because like you, I started partying a ton, and Kelly can tell you if she hasn't already, like last year, I pretty much did at least 2 parties every week. I party Wednesdays and Thursdays. And because I was like, oh, I need this to be like all my income real quick, like yesterday, I needed something to like miraculously happen. And that was amazing. And I love you for that. I can't literally say thank you enough. Of course, I've changed it and made it my own since then. And it still follows the same lines, but I've figured out more things that work for me. But I'm like, I don't know where I would honestly be without your script. I would probably be trying to find another job at this point. And I don't want to. Like my goal, like literally, my goal, was to just be doing 31 by November of last year when I turned 40. I set that goal when I turned 38, which freaked my husband out. So losing my job due to COVID kind of was like God's push of going, okay, you asked for it, here you go, like work it out. earlier than I wanted, but it was so great. And I seriously cannot thank you enough for just sharing you and the other ladies that you work with. Like it's been such a blessing and it's helped my team. It's helped the Soul Sisters because I've helped Kelly in here with it. And it's just beautiful. It's beautiful what you guys do. And please don't ever stop. Like it's so amazing.
Thank you.
Amen.
Stephanie wanted to ask a question. So Stephanie, you can just unmute yourself and ask it out loud.
Yes. And you know what, Stephanie, because everyone's reminding me, and I love you guys so much for that, before you ask your question and before anyone else has to hop off, I want to take a picture. So I'm going to have to do a couple because there's so many of you. So keep on smiling because you don't know which screen you are on mine. So I'm going to do one now. Ready? Everybody smile. Okay. I took one. I'm going to do another. All right, everybody smile.
Can I ask my question while you do that?
Hold on one little sec.
Okay.
Okay, I took a couple pictures, and if anybody else wants to take more pictures and we're not looking, go ahead and do it. It's just fun. But yes, Stephanie, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. And sorry if you hear my baby in the background, he's upset. So you were mentioning, and I've seen people talk about this, I guess I just get so nervous. The difference between a 1 week long party, which is what I always do, like a few posts every single day, and then the big live on like a Friday or Saturday, whatever's easiest for the hostess or insider. The 1 hour party, I don't know if it's just my nerves or something, but do you do like pre-posts is that all in what you're going to post separately in the group? Cause then you don't even have to answer it. But is that all like pre-posts like the same day and then it's just a 1 hour live and then that's it? Or you don't do any like days before? It's all literally just within that 24 hours, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So yes, so even when I say I do a 1 hour live party, it is still about a week long of stuff going on. So I set up the group on Facebook about 5 days ahead of time. We do, you know, we invite, I do some pre-posts, like 2 per day. And they're just kind of like the introducing me, sharing my why, showing my family, tell me why you love the hostess. It's kind of just the intro for me and the hostess. And maybe I share the link to the online catalog, that kind of stuff. Kind of like just before stuff. And if people miss all of that, the bulk of the important stuff and the engagement and the relationship building is more in the party. But that kind of gives me time to kind of get to know them, do some of that, like chatting with them on Facebook ahead of time, gives people time to get invited, gives the hostess time to do all of her things because she may be busy, you know, things like that. So I do set it up several days before, and we have a little bit of stuff going on. Kind of, I tell the hostess it's just to ramp up the excitement so that on party day, everybody is like, it's kind of like if you're having a big, you know, surprise birthday party, and like for a week, you're talking to your friends about this party, you know, oh my word, I can't wait till Friday when we do the party for so-and-so. It's going to be so awesome. Let me tell you about the decorations. Let me tell you about the food, you know, so you're talking about it to get it excited. And then the party itself is that night. But then even after the party, there's a couple of days of kind of winding down. Don't forget to order. Don't forget this. Don't forget that. If you want to do this, you know. So there's a little before and a little after, but that's just that big event is kind of on that night. So it's still an hour, and it's like a lot of posts really fast and live videos thrown in there.
Okay, because that just seems like what I do, but I thought that was the week-long thing because it's a week long of posting. So I don't see the difference in that, but I'll wait till you post, and I'll look more into detail on that. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. Yeah. The biggest difference is when people refer to the week-long one, they don't have any like 1 hour, one night. They basically take all the posts for the whole party, and they do, you know, 5 or 6 of them every day for a week or something like that. And there's never like a time when everybody gets online at the same time. That's really the biggest difference. Yeah. So it's just kind of more spread out rather than kind of like this, you know, it's kind of just like this, you know, not necessarily that that's bad. It's just kind of the flow. Okay.
Sarah, you cracked me up.
You're laughing at me.
You just cracked me up. I have a question for you.
Okay. I cracked up because I used to teach kindergarten, and we use a lot of hand motions, just so you know.
No, I just love you so much. Okay, first question on we hear a lot about when you're doing invitations, right? You want to send the private messages, and I'm very, very careful to coach my hostesses to do that, of course. I noticed that you actually have the hostess do the invite button, and then they private message their guests, which in all honesty, I would love to do that because it takes some of the work out for the hostess. Did you find, because I think you used to do it the other way where you actually had them message the guests first saying, I'm having this party, blah, blah, blah. Would you like an invitation? And they would say, yes, I'd love to come. Great, here's the link to join. That's what I'm currently doing. Did you used to do that and then change to them actually using the invite button in conjunction with sending the private message and find that works better for you?
Okay, well, I've kind of tried all of the things. When I first started, you know, back in the day when I didn't have a clue what I was doing, all I did was have them do the invite button or whatever it was back then. You know, Facebook changes all the time, but the equivalent of the invite button, you know, like I said, those parties were not so great. So that's when I learned to add the private, you know, the messaging invitation, the verbal invitation. And then there was a time, I think it was the year that I was in jail, like all the time, 2 or 3 years ago, there was some jail issue going on.
Facebook jail, not real jail.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was not in real jail. I was not. I mean, you know.
Oh, no, there's a Facebook jail.
Facebook jail. There was Facebook jail. It comes back every once in a while. And I was in it. Sorry, I was not doing Facebook parties from jail. That's hilarious. I was in Facebook jail. And so I was trying to figure out what was causing that. And I wasn't sure. So during that time, I tried a bunch of different things at my Facebook parties, mostly to try to get out of Facebook jail. But I did try not using the invite button and just having them message. And I found that it was, like you said, it's a lot more work for the hostess because then she has to like, well, and for me, like, first of all, someone has to approve everybody that wants to join. That's a pain. What if the hostess is not on her phone? Like I have, you know, you have hostesses who work very demanding jobs. They cannot check Facebook until 9 o'clock at night, and that's it.
Right.
And so you have people all day responding to them, waiting to get into this party, and they can't get into it. So I explain it, and I think I updated my wording. I think it's in my most recent script, but maybe it's in the every season I update for the next season. But anyway, I kind of updated mine, and I explained to her that it's like it's like a ticket into the party. The invite button is just giving them access to the party group. That is not an invitation. It is just opening the door so that if that person wants to join the party, they have access to it. That's all that that button does. That is not how we invite our friends to the party. So we use that invite button. It's basically like access. All these people now have access. I like all these people. I want them to all come. They can all come if they want to. Now I'm going to go text them and invite them. And that way, if you do it that way, then as soon as they send that message, hey, Kelly, do you want to come to this party? And Kelly's like, yeah, I want to go to this party. Click. All she has to do is click join and she's in. She doesn't have to be like, oh, now I have to wait 4 hours till Summer gets home from work and lets me in the party, you know? So that's why I still do the 2, because it makes everything go smoother. Does that make sense? It's like an access button. I wish they would just call it that, but.
Yeah, and I've played with it a few times where I don't invite anyone into the party group, or I should say, I don't approve anyone into the party group until the night before the party. So I give the hostess a couple days to send the invite out, have everyone request to join, and I have it set that I have to approve them. And the reason is I add them all at once, and then I can write that welcome post and it will tag everybody at once and they see it, and it's great. I tried it a couple weeks ago where the girl just went in and invited. I just wanted to see what would happen. And she invited, and it was a horrible party. Like nobody was in there, because you can see in the membership if they've, you know, if they're just previewing or what. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I haven't fully switched over to that, but it would be nice to not have to tell my hostess that, okay, first send the messages, get the confirmation they want to come, then send the link over. You know, I'd love to be able to say, okay, go in, invite everyone, just make sure you send a private message. I just don't know that they will definitely do it. And I want the guests in there, obviously, you know, because I want her to have a good party. So I was just curious how that was working for you. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it has been working for me, and I just, you know, I know that I sometimes have hostesses that still don't send the private messages, and that's why she only has 3 people show up.
Right.
You know, but even if I did it the other way, she still wouldn't have sent them, so she would still have nobody, you know, so I figured 3 is better than nothing. And I just reiterate to her, like, I tell them it's a 2-step process. First, we click the button, it gives them access. Okay, now we have not invited anyone, we're going to do that now. And so I just, yeah, and I would say the majority of them get it. There's still some that don't, but they don't.
And when you're setting it up in the settings, do you have it set so that anyone can approve the members into the group, or only admins and moderators, and you make her an admin?
Yeah, just only admins, and I can make her an admin. Yeah, so that both of us, that way we make sure the people that are there are the people we want them to be there.
Okay.
And then with that welcome post, I do that. And you have up to a week once people have joined a group, that if you click that little welcome members button, anybody who has joined the group in the last 7 days will automatically get tagged. So I do use that, because I set my parties up like 5 days before the live. And so on the night of, or the day of the live party, I use that welcome post, and it automatically tags every single person who's joined the group. So it is a very helpful little tool as well.
Okay, great.
Judith had a question.
Hey, Kelly showed me how to schedule posts, which has been awesome. But somebody else had showed me a text about text replacement. I was wondering how many of you use that. It has revolutionized my parties, because I can copy and paste a link to the party, to the shopping link. I can do, I can put each little message, each part of the script in there, and then put a little shortcut. For example, 31 party question or comment 1 or something, 31 with a question mark 1, something like that. And that's my shortcut, and it puts the whole thing in there. As many times as we have to share the shopping link because somebody can't find it, even if it's on announcements, I hope every hostess has a little shortcut. Danielle's party is DAN1, and that'll bring her link up. And that's all I have to type in is DAN1 without having to remember all those numbers. So if you don't know how to do text replacement on your phone, that is something that is amazing. So that's all I had to say.
That's awesome. I love that. And I think I do know how to do text replacement, but I have never used it for that.
It's a great idea.
That is very cool. There are many things that I text or say or post often. That would save me a lot of time in my life. I am going to look into that. I love that idea. That is genius. Thank you for that.
Is that available also through the computer or just on your mobile?
I do not know the answer to that. I'm not real good on my computer except for closing the parties, but I do most everything from my phone. So I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry. But there's, I'm sure, an app for it. But with the apps, like the apps only limit how many things you can do. Like on my iPhone, I've got tons of things saved that I can just, and I have a memory, some of them, like my link to my shopping group or to my Facebook page, mine is 31FB1 or 31FB, and that takes that gives the shop the Facebook group link.
Right.
So it just pops up there, and you don't have to type so much. But I don't know.
Another thing I do on my parties is I always have, like, how you do the invite, come join my VIP page and stuff like that. When you're setting up your party, you can link a group to the party. So I link my Facebook VIP page directly to the party as well. So, when they're doing links and stuff, you can automatically go and it'll automatically add them if they choose it, if they click on it, to my VIP group. It gives me an alert, and I can still approve them if I want to set it, if I have it set that way, but it at least automatically gets them over to the VIP group as well.
I actually like to let them ask to be invited, because I've had some people that I invited like that, and then they, well, I didn't even know I was in that. Well, you didn't ask me personally, and no. So
yeah, I have it said that they have to click on it. So it doesn't automatically put them over there, but it gives them that quick shortcut. So yeah.
It kind of gives them access.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, you know what? Thank you. And thank you, everyone. And so it is 9:13. And so honestly, I'm sure we could be here till midnight asking questions, but in respect of Terry's time and y'all's time, I do want to end us for the night. Terry, I just want to thank you so much. Again, I know you, and I know that you always do what you say you're going to do, and I'm looking forward to just a couple of the things that you are going to post on that very special group for us. So I do really, really appreciate that, and I think that that's going to help so much. I'm also going to say, for anyone who, especially here in the end, when we dug into some of the nitty gritty, like if you start to feel overwhelmed or anything about doing Facebook groups, I'm your perfect leader, because I have been very overwhelmed by Facebook parties and online parties, but through the help of Terry and Lisa and just, all sorts of people that have just said, it's okay, take a deep breath, just do what you can, just to this day, and I've had some amazing Facebook parties. To this day, I have still yet to figure out how to do one of those Google forms. It confounds me. Okay. It confounds me. There's all sorts of things people recommend that they say, do this and you're going to have this amazing party, whatever. It still confounds me. Certain things, I just cannot get my mind around, but I can do this step. I can do that step, right? It's right, Terry. There's a million different ways. And I think that in the beginning, the tips that you gave us, the generalization, that those types of things, I have girls that started, they've only been a consultant for a couple of weeks. They just jumped right in. They didn't know what the heck they were doing. They just took somebody's script, copied and pasted some stuff, tweaked it, made it their own, threw it out there, had some fun, right? All that kind of stuff, your energy, your excitement. A couple of you guys have said that tonight. It was just your energy and your excitement. And then also, right, Terry, some parties are going to flop and some are going to be amazing. And they can all be, you can do the same thing.
Yes.
And one will flop and one will be amazing. but we want to beat ourselves up mercilessly over these flops, or like we put all this effort in and it came to nothing. Well, like you didn't give up on learning how to drive a car after the first time when you didn't drive your car very good, or you were just learning how to be a mother, or you were just learning how to do your job, or you were just learning anything. Like we don't have to give up so quick, right? Just because we do have flops, right?
Agreed.
You just.
Yes. And I still have flops. And this is what I've learned from the fact that I still have flops, that I can do everything I can possibly do. I can work my hardest. I can do all the things, but I can't control it. You know, yeah, maybe the hostess doesn't participate. Maybe her friends don't have money right now. It could be lots of different things. So just don't let it discourage you to think like, oh, I can't do this, or 31's not for me, or Facebook partying's not for me. Go do 10 of them. And if all 10 of them fail, you call and tell me. Okay. They won't. It's a numbers game. Everything we do is a numbers game. If you've heard, ask 10 people to host, somebody will say yes. You know, do anything you do something 10 times. You're not going to fail all 10 times, because most of the time it isn't even your fault that it didn't go well. And if it makes you feel any better, and I always tell my team when I fail, because they say it makes them feel better. In March, I had 14 parties, I think. One of my 14 parties was $0. Okay. Now this was a mega party. So her party and her hostess coaching and her guests, everything was exactly the same as the other 3. And they had good parties and she had 0. So obviously it wasn't me. And then I had another one that didn't even break 200. So out of my 14, 2 of them were a flop in my eyes. But I didn't walk away from March feeling like I was a failure or I didn't do a good job and thrown in the towel, because I knew I did everything I could do. And I just got to let that go and move on to the next. So yeah, definitely remember that.
Yes. And I think that's another just big takeaway from tonight. It's just like everything else. It's the mental game. It's a numbers game, and you just do the best you can with what you've got at that moment. And it's funny. I have also learned, I really don't barely call anything a flop anymore, because one flop that was maybe like a $200 party and I called it a flop. Well, guess what? That's where I met the most amazing woman who needed us so badly, who ended up joining. And then, she's on the path to being our next director, which is my passion and purpose. So I met her at a flop. Right. So anyway, it's all what goes on in your head. So thank you again so much. I will, this is my last thing to say. I said it to Terry's team last night. I'm going to say it to you guys. You don't learn anything until you put it into action. Okay. You can listen to things, you can go to recordings, you can go on Zooms, you can go on trainings, you can read stuff. Until you put something into practice, you're not really learning anything. And so, I shared with Terry's team last night, I loved getting an opportunity to pour into them. And what I ask back from that is, share with us what your action step is. And a perfect place for us to do that is the group that we have. And to honor Terry and the time, not only that she put in tonight to be with us, we spent an hour talking on the phone the other morning because she wanted to know all about you guys. I know she spent time fixing up that PowerPoint. And so to honor her, I would love for you guys to be posting in our group, what action steps are you going to take now based on this time that you put in tonight? And I would like you to be thinking about that with all of the learning that you do, is what's that action? What's my next best step? What's my next best move? What am I going to do now with that information? So that's my ask for you all tonight. So thank you again, Terry. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys on our page that, we'll keep open, and then we'll be opening up a new one for next month. Right now, you guys, my 2 shameless plugs. Right now, you are earning your spot for Team Elite for next month. So submitting $500 by the end of the month or at sponsoring at least one person. And that's going to get you on the team and a very special Zoom call with none other than Mark Carr. So that that's what we're doing for next month. And I know that you're going to want to try to do that. And other than we have until the 15th to take advantage of sharing this amazing opportunity for other ladies with that 31% off investment with the new starter kit that goes until the 15th. So we have a couple of more days for that. So they are my 2 shameless plugs, and our love to you, Terry. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. All right. Nighty night, girls.